Welcome to the Growth Through Adversity podcast, where men are forged, not coddled. Here we dive deep into the path of true transformation in pursuit of physical, mental, spiritual, and temporal growth. We talk training, nutrition, business, mindset, and spirituality. We embrace strength and we loathe ease. We reject weakness in every form and cultivate power, the will to power itself. This is the rebirth of modern man. Raw masculinity, tempered by reason, virtue, and right action, because nothing of value is earned without sacrifice. Let's begin our apotheosis together. Welcome to another episode of the Growth Through Adversity podcast with your host, Ragnar the Warwolf. What is up, people? So today we are going to talk about something that I truly enjoy talking about. And it's something that you can probably harp away on too much. And that's the hypocrisy of modernity and people. You know what I mean? And in specific, so there's a phrase and it actually came off of a shirt that my brother had. And it just kind of always stuck with me, man. And it goes, nature is metal, death by cold, death by starvation, death by violence. And when I first saw it, I was like, man, that's fucking accurate. Like in nature, things don't die in nature from old age. We are one of the only fucking species on this planet that regularly dies from old age. And that is only something that's, since the Industrial Revolution become something that's relatively common amongst humans. Everything else, it's one of those three things that usually get some dehydration, depending on the climate, heat, exhaustion. But yeah, starvation, cold, violence. Those are your three options in nature. And what gets me is that, and usually I can just sit there and I can ignore people and I can ignore the fucking chatter and I can ignore the hypocrisy and I can ignore all the bullshit, right? Like it doesn't really bother me that much. I just fucking like there's a bunch of people that talk about a bunch of shit they don't have any idea about, and that's fine. It makes them happy for them. Like we live in a world where you're able to do that. That's great. I'm a true supporter of it. But like recently, and maybe it's just my feed, but I've been getting more and more of this like these like fucking chubby guys with like all the like paramilitaristic gear, you know what I mean? They have like the vests and they have all the rifles and they have all the, they look like some shit out of a Marine Corps movie or something. But it's all shit they bought online. And they're always, they're screaming about overthrow the government and return to nature and like back to our roots. And you're looking at these guys and like their guts sticking out from underneath the fucking little, their vest. They can't fucking, they're not running anywhere. I guarantee you that. And I'm looking at these guys and I'm like, man, return to nature, really? Like, motherfucker, you can't walk up a flight of stairs without getting wounded. What the fuck are you gonna do in nature? And it's just so fucking illogical and ridiculous to hear. And it reminds me, so I obviously like those of you that know me, like I grew up in Alaska, right? And so we have a lot of untouched nature up here. And I'm by no means like a mountain man or anything like that, but I've grown up doing outside stuff. I've grown up hunting. I've grown up fishing. I've grown up camping. I've grown up, I've grown up rucking and hiking and doing all this stuff, and it's a part of who I am and I enjoy it. Um, and when I was a kid, I used to kind of go out into the woods to get away, because I'm an introvert and I don't really like people, and I never really have had a lot of friends, and I've never really got along with a lot of people, and I've never really been into social stuff, I've always had a very tight-knit group, and even with them, I can only hang out with them so long, and then like I want to be alone, so that's kind of just a part of who I am. So I would go off into the woods, in my teenage years, and there was this spot we used to go, and we'd take our 22s and we'd hunt rabbits. There was this little, spot, and there was a brush line, and there was a river, and for whatever reason, and then it's kind of like open between the brush and the river, and for whatever reason, the rabbits really liked the brush line. They'd hang out on the brush line. Snowshoe hares up here mostly, and we could walk along, and if you had real good eyes and you were going slow enough, and sometimes you could spot them before they bolted, and you could clip them with the 22, and it was something, my brother and I used to do all the time, and it was one of our favorite things. And so I went out there alone one weekend because I was just like, I can't remember what it was at the time, but I was going through something, some kind of teenage angst, And And it was in the spring, and it was actually the reason I came back early is because it started blizzarding while I was out there. But it was like, it was in that transitional period of spring, and but there was still snow on the ground, and it was obviously it still snows. It snows, it literally May right now, and it was snowing here the other day. It's almost June, so that it's Alaska for you. Um, this was earlier in the year, it's probably April or so. So there's a lot of snow on the ground, which was a good time to hunt the bunnies because sometimes they're still white and but part of the grounds are brown and you can pick them out easier. Same within the fall, they start turning white, but the ground's still brown and it's the easiest time to spot them. Other than that, they're like little camo little dudes. And so I was walking along. I came up to the top of this hill and man, I started noticing like blood and fur, and I was like, "Fuck, what the fuck?" And I started looking a little bit closer, and there it looked like a bunch of really big dog prints, and I'm like, "Oh shit, that's a wolf kill." And immediately, like I panicked because all I had was a 22, and if I ran into a pack of like ravenous wolves with the 22, that'd probably be a bad day for me. And so I started looking around a little more. And the kill was obviously very old. It's been days, weeks, if not. And so I'm looking around and I'm like finding all these tufts of fur. And there was obviously this massive scuffle. The ground's all tore up. The snow's all tore up. And I started following this, and I realized later it was like a bloody drag mark. And it went on for about 50 yards. And at the end of it, there was most of what was at one point a calf moose carcass. And they had, wolves will eat almost everything. There's a few bones left, and a little bit of fur was really all that was left of it. But as you were looking at it, you kind of could put together the pieces of what had happened. And what had happened was at the top of that ridge, a pack of wolves had attacked a moose calf and they had probably incapacitated it, probably hamstrung it to where it couldn't run or move anymore. And then they would run off the mom because the mom's incredibly dangerous and it does not appreciate the pack of wolves trying to eat its calf. And then they obviously came back and in that time, that the calf had started to drag itself and then they came back and from what you could tell is they started eating the calf and it literally on its front feet had drug itself almost 50 yards through the snow and the dirt down to the bottom of this hill where it eventually probably died. And you could tell that while it was dragging itself, they were eating it. So they had incapacitated it and made it to where it couldn't get away, but they didn't bother killing it because nature is utterly ruthless. It just doesn't, it's not even ruthless. Yeah, well, it is ruthless. It's just indifferent is the right word for nature. There's no cruelty in it, but it is incredibly ruthless, right? So it didn't matter whether it was alive or not. It was just, the only thing that mattered was they were now able to eat it. So as this moose, crawled away and drug itself away, and tried its sole instinct was survive, and they ate it. What was going, eating its intestines as it dragged itself away from the kill site, and like that's not a metaphor. Like that literally happened, I've never in my life forgot it. I was probably 17 or 16 when I saw that, and it stuck with me ever since because it was so fucking horrific. And to think about like how horrific it would be to drag yourself along as a pack of wolves ate your gut slowly, is really something that's just like it's an unfathomable amount of it's an unfathomable amount of suffering and anguish that creature went through. And again, like that's what nature actually is. And again, it's not, I love nature. It's not, I understand nature. I actually totally vibe with that idea. Because there's no cruelty in it. When the wolf pulls down a calf and eats it alive, it's not doing it to be mean. It's not like a human, where it's just doing it to inflict pain on somebody. It's doing it because it needs to survive. And that's what its instincts don't tell it to put it out of its mercy or to be merciful. It tells it to survive. And it's not an aesthetic, man. It's like nature at its core is, I mean, it's parasites, it's disease, it's starvation, it's cold, it's infection, it's things literally being eating themselves alive and being eaten alive. And like the wolf doesn't give a shit about your feelings. It doesn't give a shit about that calf's feelings. It ate it while it was still alive. And like I said, just imagine, think for a second of how it would feel to have your guts ripped out and consumed as you tried to drag yourself away. And that's nature. And that's what these fucking idiots are talking about. That's what these soft fucking flabby fucking idiots are talking about returning to. Now, don't get me wrong. I love nature and I don't like the government. And I don't fucking, there's a lot of things about modern society that I don't like, but I also don't live in a delusional fucking world where I believe that the alternative is just so much better than what we're living in now that I just want to destroy everything and return to it because I have a like a fundamental understanding of what that looks like. And this is what people miss. They romanticize it and they're like, "Oh, it's a quaint little village like it was in the, 1300s and we have, everybody does a thing and there's blacksmith." It's like, "No, it's not that. It's this. It's you getting eaten while you're dragging yourself along on your fucking front arms. It's disease. It's not, it's running out of medication. It's just all kinds of things that we don't have to worry. Even your fucking water will kill you. You know what I mean? It's you don't even know how to get clean water out there. And it's not an easy thing. It'll fucking kill you quick. And that's every one of these fucking dudes is what they don't think about. But the fact is that they live off all the modern amenities. They live in cities or they live in towns. They're literally working at fucking jet desk jobs. Most of them have never done anything hard or slept a day in their fucking life. You know what I mean? Like it is entirely theoretical and it is entirely a delusional version of theory that they have created in their mind, or based off of like some camping trip in their fucking fifth wheel with a fucking generator and a satellite TV and 10 minutes away from a grocery store. Like that's not nature. That is still a city. Like that is literally like you are still living in a modern city and utilizing everything that modernity has to offer. Put a fucking backpack on your back and walk into Denali Park for 2 weeks or a month. You know what I mean? And bring nothing but a bow and a knife and as much water as you can carry in and as much food as you can carry in and come back and you will have a different respect for nature and you will not be romanticizing it anymore. I promise you that because you're going to come back hungry, you're going to come back and that's what like I'm saying like these guys have never really been hungry. Not like I missed lunch hungry, like I forgot to eat breakfast hungry, like starving, like where your body is starting to consume itself for fuel, where your organs are no longer operating properly, like that kind of hungry. You're going to come back full of parasites, ridden with fucking parasites. They're going to take you months to get rid of, if you ever get rid of them. You're going to come back with infections from cuts that didn't heal clean. And you're going to come back diseased, beat up, and very, very, very grateful for the same things that you want to see go away in modernity. Like, and that's like you have to have that context and that frame of reference if you're going to open your mouth about something because like romanticizing nature is great. Like I love nature and I think we need to preserve it. I believe it's declining and we're turning the world into a giant filthy city and I don't like that, and so I'm a big fan of nature. But romanticizing nature is foolish because nature's not romantic. It's romantic when you live in a city and you don't have to live in it. Living in it is not romantic. It's all the things we've already talked about here. Nature is metal as fuck. And like to add a hyper layer of irony to this is like these are the same guys, the same fucking guys who want to, fucking return to nature, back to their fucking primal roots. These fucking fucks can't even commit to 3 hours a week in a climate controlled gym. They've got excuses on why they fucking can't do that. They want to return to nature, but literally, like, you can't walk up a flight of stairs without getting winded. You know what you are in nature? You're vulnerable. You know what I mean? You're a victim. You're a prey. You know what I mean? Like once all of, the edge that humanity has over nature is gone, like you are completely prey. And even with it, like, it's like if you run into a grizzly bear or something out there, sometimes a gun isn't enough. I know a lot of people that have been mauled with guns. They either couldn't get it out fast enough or they shot the bear and it didn't stop it. You know what I mean? They don't just fall dead and stop. A lot of times you hurt them, they just want to hurt you more. So it's like it's so ridiculous. And I think one of the key points that the natural condition in nature is like the spirit of just of not giving up. You know what I mean? Of like that calf never for a second felt sorry for itself. It never for a second quit. It just kept fucking dragging itself for 50 yards as it was being eaten alive on instinct. That is what it means to be a fucking animal. And that animal is inside of you. You know what I mean? Like you have that capacity. It's buried under years, generations of fucking comfort and of being detached from that. But it's somewhere in there. You know what I mean? I'm confident. It's glimmers of it anyways. And the difference between you and the men who actually go out there and do hard things is not ideology, it's repetitions. So before you open your mouth and start talking about a return to nature and all this fucking bullshit, like go spend a month out there in it. And I'm not talking about at a developed camp where you're bringing in supplies. I'm like I said, throw the rucksack on your back. I do this regularly, not for a month. You know what I mean? Because I don't have any fucking delusion that I don't want to spend a month running around out there getting fucking chased by bears and shit. I like a few days, 3, 4 days. And even those, they open your eyes to things that you wouldn't imagine. Go hike 20 miles into the bush and 20 miles back. Um, and it's there's gonna be times out there where you're gonna be scared. And not just like not inconvenienced by nature, like scared. Like things are gonna happen like I've crossed log jams that I was like, literally, I'm like, man, one slip here and I'm, 10 miles alone out in the middle of nowhere. One slip here and I'm under a log jam and I'm slowly drowning. You know what I mean? And there's been times where, we've ran into animals and bears and moose and all kinds of shit out there. Um, that I knew, like, that you hear the stories and the stories can be you one day. So, like I said, I love nature. I'm a man who respects nature, and I'm a man that attempts to be a creature that nature would respect. You know what I mean? In trying to enhance those primal elements within myself, but stop romanticizing the wild from from your fucking couch. You know what I mean? Like, the wolves that ate that calf, they don't respect your theory. It respects the animal across from it. And that's it. You know what I mean? And so if you really want to respect nature, awaken that animal within yourself and bring out those savage parts of yourself and try to, be grateful for everything that you have. Be grateful that we get to live in modern societies with modern amenities. But prepare yourself for an eventuality where maybe you won't have all those things, but you're actually ready for them. You're not on fucking Instagram talking about it. So yeah, just that's all I got for you guys today, man. Just that was something that was on my mind. It's been, like I said, popping up on my feed. And really just that story with the calf is something that's always I've never lost it. And it gave me a very different respect for nature. And it gave me a very different outlook on nature altogether. And it was a really powerful experience.